Well, good evening, everybody. Said hi to Jason and John and Jerry. There's Art. Nathan, how are you? I'm trying to do one thing here. Before I do this decoder install. It's not working out very well because of my big fingers. Ethan, how are you? Marty, how's it going? Yeah, things don't work out sometimes. I need somebody with tiny fingers to come around here. And I got it upside down. I'm trying to put a window back in that fell out. There we go. Hey, Sparky. Ooh, oh, man. Anthony, Tom, Dave. Boy, everybody sneaking in real quick. Caboose. Yeah, it's funny when you. This is what I hate about taking things apart is then you're always breaking something else. I'm trying to do a few repairs here on some locomotives I have. I've got this Jeep 7 that I'm going to do the decoder on tonight, and then yeah, I am, Nathan. I'm trying to fix something. We got this Jeep 7 that I'm trying to do the decoder on, and then I've got an MP15 that I'm trying to do some work on. So what happened is, Wilmer. Hey, Boulder Creek, how you doing? Okay. So here's what happened. So I've got two locomotives that I'm trying to enhance a little bit. One of them's an MP15 that I put a decoder in several years ago. I never liked the sound though. The sound was very weak, and it's because I tried to use Atlas's little speaker box with a different size speaker, and it just didn't seal well. So what I was doing is that I took it apart so I could put a new speaker in it, and I ended up there's on the side of an MP15. You might be familiar with this. There's in fact, let me just grab it. Instead of me trying to talk about it, on the side of an MP15, there's this, I don't know how well you can see it. There's this little handbrake deal. There we go. So the handbrake, and I don't know why they made them this way. It's really silly to me, but so the handbrake's a little separate piece, and the little wall that's behind it is a separate piece, and it glues onto the shell. Well, the other night when I took it apart, I ended up dropping the little wall that's behind it on the floor, and I have yet to find it. I've searched high and low. So you know how little pieces get away from you. So I had to order that from Atlas. Luckily, they have some, and it'll be in a few days. So I can't put it back together. And I ordered a new speaker that was already in a little speaker box and everything. So I just have to solder it to the pads, and I'll be good. Yeah, and it's the speaker's small. It's 16 by 27 or something like that millimeters, and it'll be easy to put in. But see, Atlas has their own little speaker box for their speakers, and this is it. And any commercially available speakers just don't fit in it properly. So it just wasn't giving good sound. So what I did is I ordered a little speaker and ordered that little piece that I dropped on the floor. And as soon as it comes in, I can just throw that back together. So, but that was my misadventure with that. Now yeah, I like this. I especially like Atlas's MP15. It's a good little runner, and I had zero problems with it running. Even on track that wasn't perfectly clean, it ran fine. And there's no keep alive in it or current keeper, so it ran really well. I just wasn't happy with the sound, and so I've got. The speaker will be here, like I said, in a couple of days, and that little part will be here from Atlas in a couple of days. So I'll put that in. So, but the other thing I was doing, my Jeep 7, and here's the just part of it. This was a Lifelike, Proto 2000. So it's been about 2 years now. I put a decoder in it, and I really wasn't running it much after I put the decoder in. So when I built this place, then I really started to try to run it. So hey Joe, how's it going? So trying to run it, it just kept not moving well, and then it would hesitate and things like that. And I knew it wasn't good gears because I had already replaced those. So I opened it up and took the shell off and then ran it without the shell on it, and it ran perfect. So that means that I tried to squeeze things in too tightly, and wires or something were either rubbing up against the flywheel or the little linkage here or something. So things were pushed in there so tight that it just wouldn't allow it to run properly. And so what I did is I took and everybody's seen me do this. Hey, John, Mystic John, how's it going? I took the weight out, and I have now cut the weight down even more than I had it. So now that the weight's cut down, I've got tons of room. So I'm putting it all back together now. So I had a TCS decoder in this. Tsunami makes a decoder that's very similar to this in size and shape, but I happen to have a TCS in this one. So basically what I'm doing is I'm putting the decoder back together now that I've ground all the weight out and got enough room. I have put I tested my lights, and it's really easy to test your lights. Now these lights are from Evans Designs. So they have they have a bridge rectifier built into them, and that's why I like Evans Designs. I don't have to worry about putting a resistor on them or anything. So what I did is, after I got this glued in here in the back, it's hard to see. I just touched the leads to the track, and light came on. So light's good. I actually did the same thing with this part. I touched the decoder power wires to the track, and the speaker came up, and the speaker sounds great now. So that was another problem. The speaker didn't sound so good. I had used iPhone speakers in it, and I just wasn't happy with the sound. So this speaker is a little bit bigger, and it fits well in here. So that's what I just went from 2 iPhone speakers to one 16 by 35 millimeter laptop speaker. And this is a 2-watt speaker, so it'll handle the 8-ohm 2-watt speaker, so it'll handle the wattage off of the sound decoder. So that was basically it. With this Jeep 7, it wasn't running well because everything was squished in there so tight. Squished is a technical term. And the sound wasn't good, so I replaced that. So now I'm going to put it all back together. Hey, Ian, how's it going? And that's what I plan on doing this evening, hopefully. Hey, Randall, how you doing? So I thought, I'm hoping, just soldering wires on a decoder is nothing. It's very simple to do. What's hard to do is making everything fit. That is the hard part, making everything fit. And if you don't grind away enough of the weight, it's just not going to fit in there. If the locomotive wasn't originally designed to have a sound decoder in it, and this one was not. So you just have to make room for them. Now, what I've been using to glue the stuff in, and I found this is excellent glue. It's a little gooey, like contact cement is. It's not quite as bad as contact cement, but I found this, and I don't remember where I found it. It could have been Home Depot. It could have been Hobby Lobby or Michael's, but this is the glue. It's called Glass, Metal, and More. And when it says permanent glue, it means, hey Nisi, how you doing? It means permanent. Wigwag, how's it going? Yeah, if you give this 24 hours to dry, it is permanent. It ain't coming off again. So I have glued the speaker down, and it's on there. It's not coming off. So this glue, like I said, this is premium permanent glue. It's permanent. So that's a good thing. I've got that glued down. I've got my speaker far enough up so when the light fits down in there, it's not going to have any problem clearing the leads that are coming off of the LED. So because that's why I moved it. That's why I moved it a little bit forward, because the LED fits right in that slot. Well, it's hard to see. The LED fits right in that slot, and so I moved this a little bit forward just to give room enough for the leads. But as far as, like I said, just soldering wires, that's nothing. It's making it fit in there the right way and keeping it neat. I'm getting more and more to where I don't prefer this kind of decoder, because this kind of decoder just has a bunch of wires hanging off of it, and it's hard to keep the wires neat. If you use the the circuit board decoders, you can shorten the wires a lot more and keep everything looking a lot better. So, but I mean, they work just the same. But this one's just what these are really good for is if you just have a generic install that nothing, none of the manufactured circuit board types fit. Hey, how's it going, Rick Bailey? So then these are good. Plus, these are really good if you're not really experienced with soldering, because you're just soldering wires together and instead of trying to solder a wire onto a printed circuit board, which is a little bit more delicate. So if you're doing your first decoder installs, I would kind of recommend maybe you get this kind if you're not really familiar with soldering. Like I said, both Soundtracks and TCS make this type of decoders, and they even make one for at least Soundtracks does at least makes one for N scale, so one that's a little bit smaller than that. But TCS has now come out with a new Keep Alive. Actually, some of their circuit board ones have Keep Alive, but they came out with a smaller Keep Alive that you can use in a lot of N-scale locomotives. So it's what is it, a third of an inch by a third of an inch by 0.6 inches. So it's 0.3 by 0.3 by 0.6. So that makes it really tiny, and you can fit it into some switchers or some N-scale things. Yes, Jason. We'll see you. Caboose, yes, the more solder, the better. So you just put globs of solder on everything, and that makes it work better. No. So this, too bad Jason's not staying around. He can critique me since he does decoder installs as well. So what I'm going to do, and one thing I can say is I've done this in the past. Don't rush it, okay? Just don't rush it. Take your time, plan out what you want to do, and do it the right way. That's how you want to do an install. So this has to go back on. Now I have one of the wires coming up. Let me see if I can switch to my other camera here. See how that works. There we go. So maybe that'll help a little bit. If I angle this down a little bit. Of course, it's not turning my... There we go. So, you can get this a little bit closer. So I've got my orange wire here, and that's coming up from the bottom of the motor. And I just cut it off. I had, of course, I have the orange wire on the decoder there. So those two will have to be soldered together. And to do that, I'm going to need two things, and I knew I would forget something. So hang on, I'm just going to step over here a minute and grab a couple things. I'm never as organized as I think I am. That is for sure. Never as organized as I think. So I'm going to. I've got my heat gun here, so that's what I had to get. All right, Jim Tedesco, how you doing? Oh, one thing before I get started, I meant to mention this, and Wilmer can put the link up. Make sure you go to the Teespring store, or Spring as it's called now, for the On Track Tuesday merchandise. Remember, all that's going to charity. So we'll find a model railroad or a railroad charity after however long, and get all the proceeds will go to that whichever charity we decide. So it's right now we've got about $125 as far as profit. So hopefully we're hoping to get a little bit more than that. But anything we do get, all of it, 100% of the profit goes to whatever charity we'll decide for it to go to. So, like I said, Wilmer can throw up the link here. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that I looked today, and I'm at 474 subscribers, so that's 26 away from 500. When I get to 500, I will do a contest. Okay, I'll open the contest at 500, and then when I'm sure after a few weeks that I stay above 500, I'll run the contest. So, not sure exactly how I'll run it yet, but I'm going to do that. So all you got to do is get me up to 500, and you'll get some good prizes. I don't know exactly what yet, but we'll do something. And all I know is you'll have to be a subscriber to enter. So if you can get me up to 500 before Christmas, that's good. Somebody will get a good Christmas present. So make sure you go and subscribe if you're not. Get your friends to subscribe. I know Wilmer. Oh, there's Wilmer posted the link. I know what he'll get his wife to enter, and his son and his grandkids. he'll have a whole brood to enter. If I do something crazy, I'll get to 500. Well, let's see. I could burn myself with a soldering iron tonight, so who knows? All right, so let's see how I'm going to do this. That's the back, and that's the front. So I got to turn that around. That's the first thing I got to do. There we go. So I want to go ahead and put the screws in here, so I can have the weight screwed in. Wow, nice wigwag. Yeah, I'm going to give away a chair. That's right. See, I've already done something crazy. There we go. All right. Now the weight's on. Okay, so let me just strip this little wire. And you don't have to strip much of it off. So you can see how much I have stripped off there? Can you see that? It's just a tiny, tiny bit, maybe a 1/16 of an inch. So what will happen is, of course, when you use a soldering iron, it's going to melt even more off. So I want to get these untangled as much as possible. Pappy, how's it going? And if you have any questions, let me know. So the first thing I'm going to do is put the orange and the gray wires are the wires that go to the motor. So that's what I'm going to do first. Now, since I had this together before, I know which pole of the motor the orange goes on and which the gray goes on. But if you don't know, it's possible the engine will run backwards, which you can rectify either one of two ways. You can either switch the wires on the decoder, or you can just set up the engine to run in reverse mode. So you can do that, do it either way. All right. So I'm going to put, when you're working with wires, you always tin the tip of the wires. And I'm going to do that here. So you heat the wire, not the solder. And then the wire's hot enough, the solder will flow right onto it. Yeah, you can do it that way if you want to. So you can, like I said, you can either reverse the wires or do it, set it to run in reverse mode. There is a way to do that on decoders. All right, I need to. If your solder doesn't flow well, make sure your tip is clean, your wire's clean, and that you heat up the wire enough. And your tip on your soldering iron has to be tinned as well. Kind of hard to do sometimes with these tiny little wires because you only have two hands. This is where that one of those helping hands things comes in real nice. Oh, you know what? I'm just going to start over again. I always want to leave a little extra wire. That way you can, you can start over. That's what I'm doing. Like I said, the one good thing about this type of decoder is you don't have to worry about trying to solder onto a circuit board. Yeah, right, Roy. Make sure the soldering iron is on. That's always a good thing. All right. Now I cut a little piece of it. Always losing stuff. All right, so I'm going to cut a little piece of heat shrink. Remember to put it on first before you solder the wires together. I think I'm just going to try and twist these together a little bit. Once again, I don't think I did it well enough on the other side. If you got stranded wire, which this is, make sure you twist it before you put solder on it. Go. Now, sometimes these tiny little wires, trying to twist them together, aren't the most fun thing to do. Because they seem to twist and untwist at the same time. And I don't know how that happens. There we go. Now I can just melt the solder together on them. See, I didn't do it because they didn't twist together properly. So, well, maybe they did. Okay, so I've got a nice tight silver, bright silver joint on there. Now I can slip my heat shrink tube over it, over the joint, I think. And I will use my heat gun. All right, so when you're using a heat gun, just try to keep it away from plastic because it will melt it. There we go. Yes, Roy, that's always because of the operator. But they did. I got it together the right way. So now the motor controls the orange wire and the gray wire always. So I have a Here's the gray wire. The orange is in place. Um, the gray wire, I had already, I just unsoldered it from the spring that's on top of the, it's on top of the motor there. So you can see my little blob of solder. Make sure that that's clean, good and clean, because it doesn't, things don't solder well to this metal. I don't know, it's steel or something like that. It's like a spring steel or something, but it doesn't take solder real well. So make sure it's good and clean. And good and hot. In fact, one of the things that I have learned to do, and I almost forgot to tell you, I'm find my flathead screwdriver that I just had in my hand. This I think is very important. Yeah, yeah, Steve. If you're going to solder to these little motor keepers, and what happens is this little keeper keeps the brush in the motor. My recommendation is to take it off and solder, so you don't melt any of the plastic. See, some of this motor has plastic on it, and if I take it off, then I don't run a risk of melting any of that plastic on the motor. So I would just recommend that you do that. And keep the other wires out of the way. There we go. Now, ow. Yep. Got a little hot there. But now I haven't run the risk of melting anything on the motor. So, because I took that little keeper off. And put it back on. There we go. Okay, so my motor is my motor's soldered. Good job, Nathan. Yeah, you can keep working while I'm working. All right. So now the black and the red wires are the leads to the motor. I have a red wire here that goes to the front, and then I have a runner that goes to the back. So I will put this on. All righty. And run this wire back to the same side. right. I'm going to cut this off. Tin the wire. All right, now I can solder it on there. And keep the wire down on the little tab I'm soldering it to. Yep, sometimes you need 3 hands when you're doing this kind of stuff. There we go. Man, Steve, that's pretty mean, isn't it? All right, so now I've got to solder the wire on the other side, the black wire. Okay. Trim something here. All right, there we go. Now comes the big moment. And I have to change the batteries. But what did I do with my batteries? There they are. My my remote control throttle decided to have dead batteries. The speaker's already hooked up. I just haven't hooked the lights up, so I'm going to test it now. I like to test it until so I don't get too far along in case I have to change something, do something different. Normally, since I tested the lights and the speaker last night, I'm a little bit further. Normally, what I'll do is I'll hook up the power leads and the motor leads, and then test it at that point. But since this isn't a brand new install, I'm not doing that. I've got everything hooked up except the forward and reverse lights. So make sure I have no metal laying on my track, which I tend to do a lot. And I will go and plug it in. Oh, listen to that. I don't know if you can hear that or not. There we go. Much better. That's a lot louder. And once I get the shell on, it'll even be louder than it is now. So I don't know if you can hear that. Like I said, an easy way to test the lights, since my lights already have the rectifier on them, the bridge rectifier and all, I can just see if it works. Now this is the rear light, just by touching the leads to the track. Yep. You can see there the light coming on. And then the front light's actually on the frame here. And I tested it last night as well. On pretty much every decoder, at least that I know about, the white is the front wire, and the yellow is to the backup light, and then the blue wire is the common. So one wire from the backup light and one wire from the front light will go on the blue. And that's way too long. So I will definitely cut those about half. In fact, it'd probably be easier with a pair of scissors. I suggest you get good wire strippers if you're not comfortable with diagonal cutters. I've just been using diagonal cutters for so many years. I can strip wires with them. So no, it's Randall. It's a Jeep 7, so it's an EMD Jeep 7. So yeah, Martin, that's correct. you do have some other. You have usually on these decoders you have 4 other wires. A green, and I can't remember what the other 3 colors are. I think you have a pink. The purple wires are normally the speaker wires. So I'm going to take this off. See, it's still running because it's got the um, keep alive on it. Still running. Still running. There it goes. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hook up the back wire. So I need 1 wire from the front light. Good, they're stripped. And here's the blue wire. So I will tin it. I'll strip it and tin the wire. You want to be careful when you're using flux on decoders. It's not so bad on this with just wires. But when you're using the circuit board ones, you either don't want to use any flux or use a flux that's designed for microcircuitry, microelectronics. Check with your manufacturer. The TCS guys say don't use any. They use a certain flux core solder. And then and Tsunami says to use a type of solder or type of flux that's compatible with electronic circuitry. So. All right, so I have that. I'm going to make sure these are tinned as well. Tinning it not only provides you with solder while you're doing the work, but it actually helps the solder flow better onto the whatever you're working on. Ooh, make sure I get my piece of heat shrink and put it on one of the wires. It doesn't matter which one I'm putting it on. Now I can twist all 3 together. Sometimes it's easier if you just twist 2 of them and then twist the 3rd one. That's what I'll do here. All right, So I have all three of these twisted together. Let's see what happens when I heat them up. Looky there. And I'll slip my little heat shrink over them if I can fit it. Hope I can fit it. No, it's pretty tight. I think what I'm going to have to do, unfortunately, cut that off. I'm going to go for a little bit larger size of heat shrink. Always use the smallest size you can get away with. Let's see what sizes I got here. Yeah, these are all the same size. All right. Okay. I hate to use one that large. But I guess I'm going to have to. Yeah, I could put it on there. Or solder those together. Here we go. All right. Now I can heat shrink that on there. Here we go. And I bet if I put this on here, it won't work because I didn't connect the other wire. So the common has a wire from each light, Um, and then you'll hook up the front light to the white wire and the back light, the other one, to the blue wire. And that's it. And that would be all. And then it would be done. Yeah, that's a shiny hair dryer. But it says there's a warning. Do not use it as a hair dryer because the nozzle heat exceeds 400 degrees Fahrenheit. So, so definitely don't use that as a hair dryer. So what I'm going to do is, because I got to end it here, I'm just going to hook up the front light so you can see that it works, and then we'll stop it. Well, it's just amazing how fast time goes when you're doing this kind of stuff. Just amazing. I can't believe that we've already been here an hour. Yeah. Summer day, huh? Alrighty. There we go. There, I think I've done that without killing myself. How about that? Uh-oh. I had a malfunction here. My front light, the wire pulled out of the little resistor here. So I'm going to have to fix that. All the joys. Since that pulled out of there, I am going to have to replace that front light anyway. So we see it works. I would just have to put a new light in the front of it. That kind of little stuff always happens, so don't get frustrated. But until we've got a So there you go with my, that's just notching up the motor. Yeah, the throttle's actually a NCE throttle. And then I throttle it down. Now, I hate to cut this short. I mean, well, it's not short. I'm actually 5 over, so I'm gonna have to get out of here. I appreciate everybody joining me tonight. I really do. And had a good crowd in here, and I will hope you have happy railroading. I might put out a little video showing me hooking up the front and back lights because I didn't get that done. But anyway, the decoder works and it goes forwards and backwards, and that's the important part. So. But thanks, everybody. I appreciate it, and I will talk to you next time. Take care. Thanks, Art. Thanks, Wigwag. And Pappy. Appreciate it. See you, Roy.